What are rotations and floaters? How does Dokkan determine the order your units appear in when you go to fight an event? How should you plan your team around rotations? All that and more in today's Newbies Guide to Dokkan Battle. Hey there everyone, my name is Waffles the Asian Yunber, and today we're going to be breaking down rotations. We'll talk about how they work, and I'll give you a general guide for how to plan your rotations when team building. So first, let's talk terms and how the character order works when you're in an event. Essentially, you start an event with 7 characters, that's your 6 characters plus the friend leader that you bring. When you start up an event, your characters are shuffled into a random order. However, as you progress through an event, you're able to control the pattern that the units appear in through rotations. So I'm going to put some numbers up on the screen. You get 3 units per turn, so numbers 1, 2, and 3 are the first characters that show up in an event. The next turn, units 4, 5, and 6 will pop up, and on the third turn it becomes units 7, 1, and 2. Fourth turn is units 3, 4, and 5, and so on. So if I keep reordering it so the units I want are in the first 2 slots, they will keep showing up every other turn. So numbers 1 and 2 show up as well as 4 and 5. These first 2 slots are called a rotation. The other 3 characters, in our example, numbers 3, 6, and 7, are called floaters because they float between the 2 rotations. So essentially, you can keep 2 main rotations plus 3 floater units when doing events. For example, my main rotations for this team could be AGL Zamasu plus the Tech Merge Zamasu on one rotation, and the Friend Leader AGL Zamasu plus the STR Rose on another rotation. Now that's not always my rotations, but just as an example. So whenever I see AGL Zamasu and Rose or Merge Zamasu, I try to put them in the first 2 slots and my rotation is set. However, sometimes you might be in a situation where turn 1 is AGL Zamasu, your Friend Leader AGL Zamasu, and Tech Merge Zamasu in the first, second, and third slot. In this case, I want to get one of the AGL Zamasus on the next rotation, so I'd move Merge Zamasu to the second slot and one of the AGL Zamasus to the third slot, depending on which is weaker between the 2. Now, turn 2 might be less than optimal, maybe STR Rose, Physical Broly, and Inchanemba. I want to keep Rose in the second rotation, so I'm going to keep him in the first or second slot. Then it kinda depends on who I want to show up again between the 2 floaters. In this case, I go with Physical Broly. Now turn 3 should be Turles, AGL Zamasu, and Tech Merge Zamasu. I move Merge Zamasu to slot 1, AGL Zamasu to slot 2, and Turles to slot 3. Now turn 4, I've got AGL Zamasu, STR Rose, and Physical Broly, and I've got my 2 main rotations set up now, and I just make sure I keep them in the first 2 slots. If I want to change up the rotations, maybe the boss's type changes or something like that, I just reorder the slots. That's all there is to it. Something to keep in mind is that ideally the unit in your second slot is the one that will have the most links active out of your main rotation. However, sometimes you might need to tank a few blows, or sometimes a passive might make a unit better in the first slot, so this is not really a strict rule that you need to follow. Now the order only shuffles when you first start an event, so for something like Boss Rush, your rotations will remain the same as you progress through the different bosses. So you'll really only need to set it up for the first boss, assuming that your rotations are good against everything there. So now let's talk a little bit about general guidelines on planning your teams. I think the first thing that you should decide is which of the 7 units on your team you want to be on a main rotation. Generally, this is going to be your best unit. In the Zamasu case, it's AGL Zamasu because I know he's getting the most from the leader skill, and I know that he's super good, as well as I know that I have good things to pair with him. And a lot of times it just might be whoever your leader is. However, in a team like the one that you see on screen now, you can see the other units are super strong LRs that pair well with each other. So I would pair the LR Brolys together on one rotation and the 2 other LRs in another rotation with the SSBEs and Turles floating. So it can be a different situation depending on what your team ends up being like. So don't just stick with, if it's my leader, it has to be in a main rotation. It's not always that way. From there, you decide which units best pair well with your main rotation unit. So I would suggest looking at the links in your team. For the Zamasu team, Merge Zamasu shares 4 links with AGL Zamasu and gives him a 30% attack, so I pair them together. And I personally like pairing Rose with the other Zamasu for the +3 key and links, and then the key and defense from his passive. But Physical Broly could also work if he wanted because he's giving him +25% attack, and I know that I have key supports on this team. The point being, you pick a good unit and then decide what is best to pair well with it on the rotations. When planning your floaters, generally you're going to want to put support units here or units that maybe don't link the best with everyone. The floaters are kind of like your catch-all for everything else. And if you'd like me to go more in depth on how to build a team from the bottom up, I can do that in another video. Otherwise, that's pretty much all you need to know about how rotations work. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully this guide helped you out. If it did, let me know in the comments section and let me know what kind of questions you'd like me to go over in future Newbies guides. I've also started doing some summon live streams on the weekend, so if you're interested in that, you can check it out here on my YouTube channel or on my Twitch channel in the description below. That's all from me today. I'll see you next time. Hope you have a good day, good week, good life, and subscribe for more Dokkan content in the future. Goodbye!